Well, I'm delighted to welcome you all to this very special and unique session. You know, as I was walking to the Mughal tent, I was accosted by a book lover. I thought he'd ask for my autograph, but he had a grouse. He says, "What is this with you foreign service guys? All of you are just writing books." I saw at least half a dozen of you floating around the Jaipur Literature Festival. I corrected him. I said, "It's not half a dozen, it's 18 of us." But then I said, "Please come to this session." And you will see that the IFS gets an unfair rap. There are lots of police officers also who have written their memoirs, and I'm very privileged to have three of them sitting here with me, Mr. Amod Kanth, Mr. Neeraj Kumar, and Dr. Meeran Borwankar. So thank you very much for agreeing to come to this session. And I think, you know, all three of your books are very interesting books in which you have delved into not only cases that you have handled in your careers, but also the complexities of the legal, judicial, and criminal justice system that you have encountered. So since the IPS protocol is based strictly on seniority, let me begin with the most senior among you all, Mr. Amod Kanth. So you have come out with the second volume of your book. Do you have the book here with you? Yes, so I think let's hold it up and let's show it to the audience. So this is the book that he has come out with. It's called Khaki on Broken Wings. Now this is a book in which you attempt to explain the predicament of the police while functioning within India's extremely complex criminal justice system. So tell me, which are the parts of the system which are truly broken?
Well, I think the Khaki on Broken Wings is a sequel to the first one, as you have mentioned already, Khaki in Dusty Storm. And Dusty Storm is also equally important. I'm not going to narrate it, but that is about the most violent decade of India. Indira Gandhi assassination to Rajiv Gandhi assassination. In between Lalit Markan assassination, Arjun Das assassination, A.S. Vidya assassination, Rajiv Gandhi assassination. They also had their share of the same problems, which went on further. And of course, now Khaki on Broken Wings primarily talks about four cases. The first is Jessica Lal case. Everybody knows about it, I am sure. No one killed Jessica. That was the war cry. And ultimately, people said, "Justice for Jessica." I think that was perhaps the first ever national level that candle marches went on all over. That was Jessica Lal case. BMW case was still more devastating. I'll talk about it later. Then there was a character called Charles Sobraj.
Yes.
Globally speaking, no other criminal has ever aroused such kind of interest, wrongly though, in my opinion, as Charles Sobraj has done. And Ramesh Sharma was a very notorious mafia lord, you know, who became a politician and whatnot. So considering these cases, I have attempted to understand the criminal justice system of India. Just two, three very important points I would like to make in the beginning. The criminal justice system primarily talks about police and investigation. Police being the prime mover, as I call it, and overarching others, that is prosecution, defense, judiciary in all forms, and the correctional system and the jail. So they constitute the criminal justice system of India. In my considered opinion, it is collapsing. It has collapsed very badly. 76% of the people in jails being only under trial prisoners, all right? Nearly 65 lakh cases taking place every year. So a lot of things have to be discussed, which I are going to talk about. One very important point I would like to say right in the beginning, that truth is being distorted all over. Truth alone can lead to justice. Recently, the Chief Justice of India made a very clear statement. He said, in India, law and justice don't combine. I do not know why he said it. But then how can you reach the justice without truth? In my considered opinion, truth and truth alone succeeds ultimately. That's exactly I have tried to do in this book. We'll discuss later.
Thank you very much. Neeraj ji, now your book, A Cop in Cricket. Let's hold it up so that people can see it. So this is a shocking account of the rot within Indian cricket, which you witnessed firsthand during your tenure as the chief of the BCCI's anti-corruption unit from 2015 to 2018. Can you explain briefly what is this ecosystem of corruption that flourishes within Indian cricket?
Well, I could divide cricket at its present stage into two parts. One is the top level part, which is the Test cricket, the Ranji Trophy and so on, and the lower levels of cricket, which are the district level cricket or the cricket at even the state level and so on. Now, because of certain events which have happened in the past, most primarily the 2000 investigation by the CBI into corruption in cricket, where big names like Mohammad Azharuddin, Ajay Jadeja, Manoj Prabhakar, Rajesh Sharma, and others were exposed. The corruption at the top level is, I would say, and I found out during my 3-year stint also, is well under control. However, the lower levels are still fraught with a lot of corruption, and it is this system through which the players in our country come up and reach the top. So to keep them secure from corruption is the challenge that most anti-corruption officials have. So primarily the thesis of my book is that if we do not keep a strict eye on the lower levels of cricket, at the top level it would be very difficult to keep an eye on the top level cricketers.
Dr. Borwankar, now Madam Commissioner is a very candid account of your 36 years in law enforcement. What inspired you to write this memoir, and what message do you hope readers will take away from your experience?
Thank you. One factor which inspired me was that the story of criminal justice system, law enforcement, corruption in law enforcement, lack of involvement of community, asking them, join us, don't only criticize us, and get us more resources, more infrastructure. All that inspired me to take up the pen. But this is my third book. I had already written 2. Thank you. And besides that, boredom of COVID, boredom post-retirement, what to do. So all this clubbed together, but mainly I'm trying to target the youth which loves to criticize us, but doesn't pressurize those in power to give us more resources, more manpower, more human resources. That's the inspiration behind this.
Mr. Kanth, now 2 of the most sensational cases you have documented in this book are the Jessica Lal case and the BMW hit and run case. How do you compare these 2 experiences?
I think the 2 cases, particularly Jessica Lal case, it became so prominent, so talked about that details I need not give in. But then, of course, I would like to say that the Qutub Colonnade, where it happened, and that was 1999. Both the cases incidentally took place in 1999. To be precise, it was 30th of March, 1999. I was Joint Police Commissioner of Delhi, Southern Range, which is Delhi, half of Delhi. And then in the morning, my Deputy Commissioner of Police, he was on leave, so additional Deputy Commissioner of Police called me up. And he said something happened in Qutub Colonnade. A young bartender had been killed in a place where a lot of people had come. And then, well, I didn't know the place, my mistake, because one of my colleagues was there in the night also. Now, this started off something, where Jessica Lal, where she was killed in the night, it happened to be the 9th Thursday party. Okay. Thursday being a boring day of the week, Manli Ramani and Bina Ramani, who created it, very, very well-known socialists of Delhi, they decided to do it on Thursdays. Starting from 10-15 people, the night when the incident took place in Qutub Colonnade, just across Qutub Minar, then that night, nearly 300 people were there. And it included Steven Seagal kind of Hollywood star. Yes. It included top people from Delhi. I think who is who of Delhi was there. And everybody you can name was very much there. Top cop also one of them. So that was what it was. And liquor was being served. It was said to be an illegal bar. And then somebody who happened to be Manu Sharma, who happened to be the son of a very senior politician from Haryana, he demanded whiskey, as you know. And that was over because it was 2 o'clock in the night. And then she had no whiskey to serve. And that's how he took out his gun and killed her. And when she was killed, at that time also, a lot of people were there. In fact, there were at least 300 people who could be somewhere connected to the case, including these big top, stars and all that. But unfortunately, none of them came out to say anything. Right. You understand that? Page 341 became silent. All those guys who wanted to be in page 3 didn't want to be there. So to cut it short, this part, 30th of April, We were able to work out the case within couple of months, couple of hours. We had already sent our team to arrest and to get hold of the vehicle, which came, and Manu Sharma was identified. He was ultimately caught after 6 days. But it was a real marathon case. And this case failed in the Sessions Court. But thanks to Gopal Subramaniam, the very eminent lawyer who helped us, and we succeeded finally. The other case, very briefly, if you permit me, that is BMW case. That was very different situation. It was a young fellow, Sanjeev Nanda, grandson of another Admiral Nanda, who was driving recklessly his brand new BMW car. And then in the wee hours of the morning, that is on this date, 10th of January, 1999 again, he came at a breakneck speed, and there was a police picket. 3 policemen were killed, and 4 other persons got involved, and then one survived ultimately, who also turned hostile. In both the cases put together, let me inform the most critical point, not less than 40 people turned hostile. Almost everybody who was trusted turned hostile, including family members, let me inform you, and including the most trusted people. So we can talk about it later. It was an
And I
amazing
think
case.
both these cases are very well documented in this book, which you should pick up to understand how the criminal justice system was subverted by them. But let's turn to Mr. Kumar now. Now, one of the most astounding chapters in your book is on these private T20 leagues. In fact, I'll just recount an instance that you have mentioned. Now, picture this. It's a private T20 league happening. It's the final 2 balls of the match. One team needs 17 runs to win. There is no way they can win, because even if the bowler goes for 2 sixes, they'll still win, right? But they manage to lose. Why? Because the bowler bowls a series of wides and no balls. Because it was fixed, it was by the bookies, for the bookies. So, Neeraj, please take us through this murky world of the T20 leagues.
Vikas, you have very rightly described it as by the bookies, for the bookies. This is a new phenomena that has taken over our cricketing world in India, the organization of private leagues. As you all know, we all enjoy the Indian Premier League. Well, I don't, because I know what all goes on there. But Indian Premier League is very popular in the evening when people return from their workplaces. When the IPL is on, we all switch on our TV, and it is our escape for the evening. Everybody is glued to the TV screens. Quite a few of us are very fond of putting bets. Even within the family, we put bets. And the betting racket during IPL is phenomenal. It goes to the tune of thousands and thousands of crores. And it is all very well organized, as we proved during one of our investigations, that the man who runs the entire racket of bookies and fixers during the IPL is none other than Dawood Ibrahim, sitting in Dubai. It is he who calls the shots. It is he who names the odds, and so on and so forth. But there are, in addition to the IPL, there are these private leagues which are being organized in almost every state. And the most notorious of them is, unfortunately, where we are sitting.
In Rajasthan.
In Rajasthan. It all started from here. The first one was in Kota, called Rajwada Premier League, organized by one of the top office bearers of the Rajasthan Cricket Association. It was he who was the moving force behind it. And the incident that you are referring to happened from the Rajwada Premier League. And then came the second one, the Rajputana Premier League, which was happening in Jaipur. When we decided to disrupt it, I was then in the BCCI heading the anti-corruption unit. We came here with the help of the local police. We not only disrupted the private league, we also managed to arrest all the prime movers behind the league and all the co-conspirators. And in all, 21 people were arrested and huge amount of recoveries were made. The result of this operation was that several other private leagues which were happening in other places, they were all called off. Some of them were shifted overseas, and some of them were abandoned completely. But what happens in these private leagues is, it is only for the purpose of betting and fixing. It is organized by the bettors, by the fixers, and it is for the fixers. As soon as a T20 game is televised, betting starts. And the betting is to the tune of crores of rupees. And if somebody can fix a certain event, you can rake in the moolah. For instance, this particular over that Vikas spoke of, when only 2 balls are left and 17 runs have to be scored, obviously the whole world will bet on the team which is bowling to win. To lose, because under no circumstances,
to win.
To win.
Exactly.
Because under
batting team cannot win.
Yeah. But, the bowler was sent instruction over the walkie-talkie through the umpires to throw wides.
Through the umpires?
Yes, through the umpires.
My God.
On the walkie-talkie. And he threw away wides, and then
no balls.
The no balls, and finally the batting side won. So this is in story the rot behind the private leagues.
Dr. Borwankar, now in your memoir, you mention the various challenges you encountered as a woman in the male-dominated world of law enforcement. So can you share an instance where overcoming gender-related obstacles was particularly challenging, and how did you navigate it?
So thank you. Many of my batchmates are here. I acknowledge their presence. So in 1981, I was a lone lady officer in the batch of about 70 men. So every day morning, I would hear from them, go back, go back. Of course, they don't acknowledge now.
Bad enough.
Now they're decent guys. So it started from there. And I very vividly remember when I was DCP Mumbai, in one of a very serious law and order issues in Kamathipura, where thousands of people had come on road, and control room asked me as the DCP port to reach the spot. You can imagine, our Commissioner of Police is Gherao. There are about 1,000 people on the road, very agitated. And when I reach, the first thing Commissioner says, and he asks, and he's totally distressed, he says, they have sent you to help me? And imagine, I think other DCPs had heard it on the wireless, but they did not go. Sir may not agree. Now, another thing is, when I sought an independent district, telling my Commissioner of Police Mumbai that now I have done 5 years as Deputy Commissioner of Police, I would like to be District Police Chief, he looked up and down, but agreed. But the then Chief Minister sent my file back twice, saying, and mind you, I had put in 11 years of service by then. First his dialogue was very positive. He said, Meera is doing very well in Mumbai, let her be here. Second is, see, if there's an issue in Mumbai, we are here to help her. Who will help her if she goes to the district and she's alone? Actually, I didn't need anyone's help, let me tell you. Another challenge was when I was made the chief of Crime Branch Mumbai. You know what Crime Branch Mumbai is? Specializes in different kind of action-oriented events, including encounter specialists. So my very presence as the chief of the branch was resisted, resented, but I survived. And to end it, when I was given the very sensitive task of supervising hanging of Ajmal Kasab and Yaqub Memon, that a woman can do was a big question, but I must compliment all the women sitting here. We can do it, we did do it.
Now, Amodji, 75 to 80% of our population in the overcrowded prisons happens to be under trials, which means people who have been alleged to have committed a crime but whose case has not yet come to trial. Why has the justice system failed these under trials?
No, you are correct that these under trials, 76% actually. The under trial prisoners, it's a total negation of justice because we believe that a person is deemed to be innocent till proved guilty. But here is a situation where out of nearly 5 lakh prisoners in the country, if you include the police custody also, 76% if they happen to be in the jail, in that case they are getting punishment. The ultimate punishment is jail. In fact, the prison system has been weaponized in the country. I think that is one of the worst things to happen with the criminal justice system of India, that people are sent to jail. Now, one doesn't know what's going to happen because now, as you know, that the new law, I mean, the IPC, CRPC, Evidence Act, it has been changed as it's being said about, talked about. I don't find much of change in it. In fact, frankly speaking, so far as this situation is concerned, that people get bail, because my community, that's police community, those who are not able to do encounters, which Meera never did, I'm sure. So those who are not able to kill people and finish them there even before they are sent on trial, I think they ultimately depend on jail. They really depend on the situation that somebody is arrested. Now, there are a lot of issues about it. If you permit me to talk about Charles Sobraj's case.
We have 1 minute.
All right. Then in that case, I would like to say that the situation can be from anywhere to anywhere. Here was a situation in Charles Sobraj's case, who practically ruled Tihar jail for 10 years. When our case came, which I'll discuss later, 1986, he was already in jail for nearly 10 years, exactly 10 years. And those 10 years, he controlled the jail. So can you think of a situation that these kind of people, every day there are stories galore. Neeraj also has worked, and I think Meera also has worked in jail, so they know about it. My domain was investigation. So the point remains that a lot of things are absolutely wrong in jails. One doesn't know where to start and where to end.
Neeraj ji, now you have explained at great length how many promising players get caught in the net of these so-called talent hunters. And they end up mortgaging their entire existence only to be duped by them. So why is the BCCI not cracking down on these talent hunters?
To put your question in context, I would just like to elaborate a bit. While the because of the IPL and also to a small extent because of the private leagues, there are these talent hunters who are going to all the cricket academies and posing as talent scouts. They try to pass off as people who would select players from those academies and then promote their interest and make sure that they reach the IPL. Now, in the bargain, what they do is they run their own rackets. They say, well, you are quite promising, but you will have to attend a coaching camp. This coaching camp is being organized at so-and-so place. So please come, and you will have to pay a coaching fee. So it will start with something like 3 lakhs. Then after a week, it will go up to, say, 5 lakhs. And eventually, it may go up to right up to 20 lakhs for each player. Now, these coaching camps are nothing but a big charade where they are kept for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Given training, there would be 1 or 2 trainers who will give them some coaching. And eventually, they will all be told that, well, we tried our best, but you couldn't be selected, so you go home. And all the money that they or their families have spent on them is all pocketed by the so-called, talent scouts and the promoters of talents. So this, in brief, is the racket that is going on all over the country in a very rampant sort of way. And we managed to crack quite a few, bring quite a few to justice, got them arrested, and recovered a lot of money that they had taken from poor people. Some people had even sold their land and their homes to fund their wards to attend these camps.
Dr. Borwankar, now you have devoted an entire chapter in Madam Commissioner to the Jalgaon sex scandal. the sensational case of human trafficking, rape, and sexual exploitation, which happened in 1994. Why is prosecuting sex crimes against women so challenging?
It's very challenging to first get the cases of sexual assault registered itself. Girls don't come forward in this particular Jalgaon sex scandal case. Me and my team, we talked to about 100 girls who said that they were exploited, but we could only convince 12 of them to come forward and give formal complaints. Once we register a case, then investigation and post-investigation, when the trial comes, not only the girls do not support, many a times they do not support their own complaint, witnesses turn hostile. And the trial is so late. If you have read my book, which you have, in a Kolhapur case where an 8-year-old child was raped in a Maruti car, the case came to the logical end at Supreme Court 11 years after the episode. So such late trials, witnesses not supporting us, late registration of the cases, these are the main causes. But my question to all of us here is, if you give remission to 11 convicts involved in a case of rape, murder, and they are set free after 11 years in Bilkis Bano's case, how do you expect the girls would come and register their cases? So the environment in the country also needs to be changed. And I feel very proud to say that I am one of the persons who filed the PIL, and we won the PIL, and those guys have reported back to the prisons. So the atmosphere in the whole country has to change.
Yep, I entirely agree. Now, Amodji, you have been portrayed by the actor Adil Hussain in the film Memoir Charles, in which Randeep Hooda plays, I think, Charles Sobraj. So what was your experience with working with these filmmakers, and how close was this film to the truth? Because you handled the Charles Sobraj case.
I think nearly 80% of the investigation and the charge sheet which was given to them, actually, they attempted to follow the charge sheet. And then, so it was truthful. By and large, 80% the story was truthful. And that is precisely why they had to name me as Amod, whatever I was, Joint Police Commissioner, Deputy Police Commissioner then. And then, of course, Charles Sobraj was there. And my experience has been pretty good. In fact, both Adil, who portrayed me, and Randeep Hooda, who portrayed Charles, they are absolutely wonderful actors. And not only they, I think the director and the producers also did a good job in it. And they wanted to picturize the whole thing in a truthful manner. And as I said in the beginning, that truth must prevail, so it has prevailed in this case also. Now, coming back to, since it's a Charles Sobraj case, I would like to say that it was a very interesting investigation. I think no other criminal has occupied the public imagination. The only thing I found absolutely, he was disgusting. It smelled very badly. That's why I kept him there. I never allowed him to sit next to me for that reason. And of course, the investigation was done very well.
But despite his bad body odor, he attracted a lot of women.
Oh, I didn't want to say it. You said it. you said it. You said it, and I'm really surprised by. Nearly 20 to 25, I think the women coming from about 10 countries of India, where they befriended him, he befriended them and their friends and all that, and he killed them mercilessly. One particular point I would like to say about Charles, that Charles, there was nothing brave about him. There was nothing so exceptional about him. He was a dirty character, except that he projected himself so well that even the girls fell for him, and that was a wrong thing. Investigation, one thing I would like to mention, that he wouldn't have said anything but for his friend David Richard Hall. He disclosed everything. My wife is sitting here. In fact, because of the tiffin box that she used to give me, and he liked his wife also.
That tiffin box was the way to David's heart.
That's correct.
Yes,
that's correct.
exactly.
I wrote a chapter on that. So that's how it is. But the fact remains that this kind of movies need to be portrayed as it is. I'll always say that a movie which is made on the truthful stories will be far more convincing. After all, truth is stranger than fiction.
Now, Dr. Borwankar, you also had a brush with Bollywood, with Rani Mukherjee playing a character modeled on you in Mardani. And then you dealt with Sanjay Dutt when he was incarcerated in Yeravada jail in Pune. How was that experience?
So, in the case of Mardani, if you have, any of you have seen Mardani 1, I would say that one very good point is that the very grave and serious issue of human trafficking, exploitation of young girls, cheating, fraud, that has been portrayed. After Rani Mukherjee portrayed that character, when she came to meet me, I had already shifted to the prison department. I must give compliments when we said, our convicts, they make so many things which we sell during Diwali. It's a Diwali sale. Would you please come and join us? She came as the chief guest, and her office rang us up saying, what can she get for the prison, women's prison? And we asked for the ECG machine, which Yeravada Women Prison did not have. She not only came as the chief guest and encouraged the sale of goods made by the convicts, she gave that ECG machine to the women prison. As for Sanjay Dutt, my friends here in media, they kept us on our toes. Unlike in Bilkis Bano's case, we did not allow any furlough or parole which was not his legal right, and when it was not his legal right. So he behaved properly because he knew that he's under watch. But under watch also meant the curious person that he is, he found out my whole background. I have described it in the book. Once when I thought I am high mighty surprise visit in my full uniform, I entered his barrack. He said, "Arey madam, aap to Fazilka se hain." And he had found out where I was born, where did I study, which year of IPS I belong to. So he has his own curious personality, but he's very intelligent. He knew that he better behaves, otherwise he does not get any concession which is legible to him. But one welfare show which we had tried to organize with his help had to be cancelled because we realized that Mumbai gangs had got involved. I have described it in detail. So there is a darker side, there is a positive side, but the lesson of the story is that law enforcement agencies cannot compromise. And the celebrity may be celebrity for the media, but for us, he or she is just an ordinary prisoner.
Now, Neeraj, you have said in your book that these bookies, these fixers, these unscrupulous players and agents managed to get away despite evidence against them because there's a vacuum in the law. And the vacuum in the law was sought to be plugged by the Sports Integrity Bill. Why are we not passing the Sports Integrity Bill? Because apparently, sending down 2 wides at the behest of a bookie is not a crime.
Quite right. Why there is no Sports Integrity Bill when countries like Zimbabwe, when other cricket-playing nations, all of them have anti-corruption law against fraud in sports? It beats me. The reason is that there should be an interested group which is asking for change in law to tackle corruption in cricket and in other sports. Unfortunately, in our country, we are so immune to corruption in sports that we do not care. When an incident happens where cricket is exposed, when corruption is exposed, then we make a lot of hue and cry, but there is no follow-up. Now, there is nobody pressing the government to say that please pass a Sports Integrity Bill to curb corruption in sports in general and cricket in particular. The result is that even though there is a bill which was drafted in 2013, post the IPL expose during IPL 6, in which Srishant and 2 other cricketers of Rajasthan Royals were arrested, the bill is just hanging fire. And there is no group.
Correct.
The group which should actually press for the bill is the BCCI. And unfortunately, they have no interest in seeing the, this legislation come to its fruition.
Should we legalize sports betting in India or not?
Well, ordinarily we would all think that legalizing betting would put an end to corruption. But the truth is that it won't. Because how many of us will bet on cricket through our credit cards or debit cards or through checks, leaving paper trail? Most people who are high rollers or people who bet in khokhas and petis, I hope you know what khokhas and petis are. You know, lakhs are khokhas and petis are crores. So people who bet in lakhs and in crores, it is these people who fix matches. And they will not bet in white, with white money. They will continue to bet in black money. So even if you legalize betting, people who will bet with white money will not be able to make any difference to the overall market in corruption.
They are signaling to me that now we have very less time, so let's open it up to the audience. So please, we have three very, very distinguished ex-police chiefs here. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. Okay, this gentleman in the front.
A couple of years back, I had watched a series, The Inside Edge, on one of the OTT platforms.
Yes. On Prime Video, I think.
Yeah. I want to know how close that was to reality. Plus, apart from match fixing, what are the other areas where corruptions do take place?
So let me answer your second question first. Corruption has crept into other sports as well. Football is a very popular game which is corrupted, not only in India, but across the world. There have been several cases where corrupt instances have been detected and caught and exposed. That is the first. Your first question was...
How close was Inside Edge to the truth?
I have not seen that movie. I've heard about it. But let me tell you, the actual scene, the actual scenario on corruption in cricket is far worse than may have been shown in the series.
Sir, my second question was, apart from match fixing, what are the other areas in cricket where corruption is taking place? Is it team selection?
You can get it all. Please read his book.
Rights.
You will get all the lowdown in that book. Next question. Yes, that lady in the back.
Good evening. Is the bill hanging because there is insane kind of money involved? And is this money like ruling the ruling parties or helping the ruling parties? Is that why the bill is hanging?
Sports Integrity Bill.
Maybe so, maybe so. I can't say with certainty. But a huge amount of money is involved, and part of it may be used during elections and so on and so forth. And that ring, the corrupt ring which corrupts the game of cricket is part of the overall corruption that goes on in politics as well. That is why you would notice that in the BCCI, almost every important member is a politician.
Do we have a question for Meera ji and Amod ji? You have a question for Dr. Borwankar?
The image of Indian police is not very good in Indian society. What do you say?
It's
Get
not
more
very-
women.
You said
Why
not-
is the image of Indian police not very good in Indian
See,
society?
Indian police is as archaic, as colonial, as old, useless also many a times as India's criminal justice system. I am very clear about it. We are working, Indian police is post 1857 first war of independence. The IPC, CRPC Evidence Act and Indian Police Act was created 1860s, mind you. It still continues. The present government is trying to change it. Now, so far as the police image not being good is mostly because of the fact that our participation with the community is very poor. Community policing is a very sidey affair now. People like us, because I started something called Prayas,
Yes.
we couldn't discuss about it. The issue is that the police image can improve only when we go deep into the community. We have very good relations with the community, which is not happening so far.
But I have also added, have more women in police. Today
That's
we
a
have
good
only
point.
12% women in police. So we should have more women in
That's correct. That's the point. That's a very important
We
point.
have time for just one more question.
Justice stands to reform the people or to punish them out?
Justice?
Justice stands to reform the people or to punish them?
Well, justice is reform the society, in my opinion. It is not to reform the people. Justice is, as I said earlier, that if during any crime, for example, or any law and order situation, you are able to find the truth, and whatever is proper, appropriate in the eyes of law, in the eyes of Constitution of India, legally speaking, ethically speaking, the people should get it. If they get it, that is justice. You call it reform or whatever, but that exactly is required in my opinion.
It should be both punitive as well as reformative.
Meeraji, you have been in charge of the prison services as well.
Yeah, I agree with sir, both, but actually we will realize the objective of this session if all of you take more interest in the criminal justice system and the trials to start and finish within a framework of 1 or 2 years. Not like that young girl, 8 years old, raped in a Maruti car, getting justice after 11 years.
So thank you very much. I'm afraid we have run out of time. But I want to say that the 3 ex-police chiefs we have on stage here, they are not only great memoirists, as you will see from their books, they are exemplary role models. They illustrate the resilience, dedication, courage, and above all, integrity required to do effective and impartial law enforcement. So their stories will give you a glimpse into the challenges and triumphs that shape the world behind the badge. So please give a very warm round of applause to Dr. Amod Kanth, Mr. Neeraj Kumar, Dr. Meeran Borwankar.